What's up, Finstock Nation? What's up, Dolphin Nation? How you doing today? In today's video, we're going to go ahead and cover who got drafted by the Miami Dolphins, some updates on the unrestricted free agents, and then we'll listen to the presser of John Eric Sullivan and Coach Jeff Hafley, the presser after the draft this past weekend. And then tomorrow's video, actually, Wednesday's video will be or tomorrow's video, whichever one, will be my grades, and we'll be comparing grades with experts on the Dolphins draft. The 2026 NFL draft wrapped up Saturday after 3 days in Pittsburgh. With 2 first-round picks, the Miami Dolphins selected offensive tackle Kaden Proctor with the number 12 selection and cornerback C.J. Johnson with the number 27th overall selection. Here's a list of the Dolphins selections and what you need to know about them. Kaden Proctor. There's no denying Proctor's on-the-field presence at 6'7", 352 pounds. He's nearly impossible to miss. Consistency will be key for the Bama product, who was viewed as a potential top 5 pick entering the 2025 college football season. Miami defensive lineman Ruben Bain Jr. was still on the board, and many fans wanted to keep him in South Florida. But Proctor's upside was too enticing for the Dolphins as they looked to rebuild from the inside out. Will he start as a rookie? There's certainly a path for him, but not at his natural position. Patrick Paul is one of the best young left tackles in the league and isn't losing that job anytime soon. But Austin Jackson has struggled to stay available over the past few seasons. Proctor will likely cross-train at guard and tackle. General Manager John Eric Sullivan said the team valued versatility on its offensive line and can practice what he preaches with his first pick. Is this pick a depth pick, or is it to fill a hole? It's both, actually. If he was drafted as a tackle, he'll provide insurance for Jackson this season and could operate as Miami's swing tackle. But the team has a hole at right guard, which Proctor could fill at least for his rookie season. What we're hearing about Proctor. Speaking shortly after he was picked, Proctor said he feels comfortable playing any position on the offensive line and believes he can play all 60 minutes of a game as long as he keeps his weight in the 350-pound range. Proctor admitted that his weight ballooned to 400 pounds early in his college career, but he has since learned to keep his weight in check. Round 1, number 27th pick. The Dolphins couldn't leave this weekend without a starting corner, and got one in Johnson. He's a plus athlete with the technique and ball skills to match. He should thrive under Coach Jeff Hafley. Miami still needs to add talent to its cornerback room, but it's off to a good start with Johnson and still has 11 picks to play with in the remaining 6 rounds. Will he start as a rookie? It would be a surprise if he doesn't. The Dolphins do not have an established starter at corner, and General Manager John Eric Sullivan believes Johnson can play any defensive back position. He will have the remainder of the offseason to adjust to the difference in quality between Mountain West and the NFL. But once he gets his feet wet, he should be penciled in as a starter. Key stat: Johnson recorded 4 interceptions, 13 passes defended, and a forced fumble in 2025. His ball skills will be a welcome addition to a Dolphins defense that was inconsistent last season at taking the ball away. Round 2, number 43. At number 43, linebacker Jacob Rodriguez. The Dolphins need playmakers on defense and get one of college football's best in Rodriguez, playing alongside Jordan Brooks gives Miami two instinctual linebackers capable of shooting gaps and making plays on the ball. As a converted quarterback, he's also capable of reading offenses in zone coverage and putting himself exactly where he needs to be. Rodriguez intercepted 4 passes last season to go along with the FBS leading 7 forced fumbles. What we're hearing about Rodriguez, Dolphins assistant general manager Kyle Smith could hardly contain his excitement following the pick and described Rodriguez essentially as the perfect linebacker. We're buzzing in the draft room, Smith said. Go down the list of every single attribute you want in the inside linebacker, and that's what this guy is. Round 3, number 75, Caleb Douglas, wide receiver out of Texas Tech. My take, the first round, the Dolphins got Malik Willis. Some protection. In the third round, they get him a new target. Douglas blends size and speed to a receiver room that needed an influx of talent. He wasn't necessarily expected to go this early in the draft, but Miami loved his catch radius, route running, and playmaking ability. Will he start as a rookie? It's hard to rule anything out at this point in the offseason. Douglas will have to earn his way on the field, but there isn't much competition ahead of him, and the entire room is essentially starting on the same level with first-year offensive coordinator Bobby Sloak and Willis. He should complement Willis's arm strength well and help stretch the field for Miami's offense. Round 3 at number 87, Will Kemerett, tight end Ohio State. My take, it should be plenty clear by now the Dolphins want to run the ball in 2026. They've said it publicly all offseason. Now they backed it up in drafting Kemerett. Might be the best blocking tight end in the draft and should be a road paver for Devon Achane and company this season. When will he be expected to get regular playing time? As soon as he's fitted for his shoulder pads and helmet. The Dolphins don't have a blocking tight end on the roster right now, and he could solidify the role fairly quickly. The competition shouldn't be too much of an adjustment for him considering he played his college ball. Round 3, number 94, Chris Bell, wide receiver, Louisville. This is a potential steal in the late third round. Bell was a potential first round pick before tearing his ACL in November and falls to Miami with one of the picks it received back from the Jalen Waddle trade. Once he's healthy, Bell could challenge for playing time right away in the wide receiver room that lacks a clear top target. Bell can also make things shake after the catch, even at his size, 6'2", 220 pounds. When he will be expected to get playing time? As soon as he's fully healthy. The beginning of training camp will mark 8 months since his injury, and it's unclear when he'll be cleared. But similar to Douglas, he doesn't face the stiffest competition in the thin Dolphins wide receiver room. Round 4, at 130, Trey Moore, edge, Texas. My take, the Dolphins tapped into the edge market and grabbed the former Conference USA Player of the Year. Moore recorded 14 sacks for UTSA in 2023 before transferring to Texas. His production on tape his production tapered off with the Longhorns, but he has a variety of pass rush moves and a reasonable path to playing time as a rookie. Round 4, 138, Kyle Lewis. My take, many draft pundits. Lewis as a safety in the NFL, but the Dolphins see him as a versatile linebacker who can impact the game at multiple levels. Assistant General Manager Kyle Smith said Miami will utilize Lewis's skill set in coverage on third down, where he excelled at Pitt. The Dolphins struggled against the pass last season and have taken another step to correct the late in that late in the fourth round. Round 5, at 158, Michael Taft, safety, Texas. My take, back to Texas, well, for the Dolphins, who took teammates with competitive picks for the second time this weekend. Taft is a touch undersized at 5'11", 190 pounds, but senior potential personnel executive John Robinson said Taft's football instincts make him an intriguing prospect on day 3 of the draft. Miami safety room is thin, and Taft could work his way into playing time if those instincts carry over into Miami Gardens. Round 5 at 177, Kevin Coleman Jr. My take, the Dolphins at a third receiver of this draft, taking a slot specialist, returner. He's fast, I bet, not blazing, and gets in and out of routes quickly. Similar to Bell and Douglas, there's a path for him playing time considering there's not much competition. Round 5, 180, Sedu Taylor, tight end, Mississippi. Taylor is still relatively new to the game and growing up in London, but has 5 seasons of college football under his belt, including 2 at the SEC level. The Dolphins believe Taylor is a dynamic player who can contribute as a blocker and a receiver. Last season with the Bulldogs, he caught 35 passes for 369 yards and 5 touchdowns. Round 6, DJ Campbell, guard. My take, Dolphins senior personnel executive John Robinson joked that the team's Texas area scout deserves a raise. 5 draft picks this year from Texas schools is proof Campbell was the 3rd-year starter for the Longhorns, and Robinson raved about his arm length and positional flexibility. He was drafted as a guard, but might end up cross-training at center and tackle as well. Round 7, at number 238, Max Lelewin, edge, Iowa. The Dolphins doubled up on day 3 edge rushers, and senior national scout Ron Brockton said he didn't expect the Iowa product to still be around by the time Miami made the final pick of the weekend. Brockton said the team likes his length and ability to set the edge. Lelewin has a notable spin move in his pass rush arsenal and should compete for a roster spot this summer. Guys, I like the draft a lot. There are some questionable calls, but I'm not going to be getting into that in this video. I will give my grades next video, but I like the draft a lot. They drafted a lot of good players. Now let's see 3 years down the road how true this draft was. A bunch of hits or a bunch of misses. We'll know in 3 years. Now let's listen to the press conference, and then we'll go from there. We're going to listen to the press conference and then look at the undrafted free agents real quick.
Play on the field, but then when you talk about the wiring of the individuals, we feel like we accomplished what we set out to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, I just start off. I think John, Eric, and that entire staff did an incredible job. The work that they put in, the process, for me to sit in there for the first time really in a full draft rather than just on one side of the football, it was really cool to see. Incredible process, the communication, the collaboration in there, just sticking to all the hard work that they'd already done and watching, the guys kind of fall in place. It was really cool for me to see. Again, I think he did an unbelievable job in his first draft. Very, very excited about the players that we picked, and I can't wait to coach them. So just cool experience, and really excited about the players that we got.
So this trend, I think you had 4 or 5 sets of college teammates now drafted here. Was that coincidence, or is that ever factored into the equation when you're making these picks?
Purely coincidence. Purely coincidence. It's cool. It's a cool story. But no, there was no agenda or intent there. It just happened.
Speaking of agendas, or no agendas rather, it's hard not to notice that there's one particular state you seem to draw players from. What can you tell us about that?
Again, we let the board talk to us, and it's the best player available approach. And it's coincidence that we had a lot of guys from the state of Texas this year. They play good football in Texas, so I think that's probably a good thing. But again, there was nothing that was intentional. It's just the way that it kind of fell.
How much of a priority was physicality in selecting players?
It's always a priority. I think we've talked about from the jump just what we're trying to build here, the culture, the competition, and then on top of that, the play style. I'll let him speak to the play style, but I can tell you from the moment that we started working together back in Green Bay, he says that word or that phrase quite a bit, and the players adhere to it. Play style and physicality is a big part of what we're trying to accomplish and build here.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing I told him when he asked me my opinion on things, it's one thing I was not going to back away from. I believe this is a physical game, and you need tough guys to play this game and guys who want to be physical. And I think if you look at this list and you watch how hard these guys play, I think it's impressive. And what really that says to me, and I've said this before, you can find out if a guy loves football based on how hard he plays. You can find out how much a guy loves his teammates based on how hard he plays. And when you look at this, I think we got the right type of guys, and I'm excited to work with them.
Sullivan, you previously talked about the quarterback position, infusing competition into that room, potentially drafting a QB every year. How close were you to going QB? Why ultimately decided not to, and where are you on the competition in that room right now?
Sure, good question. I did say that, and it came up a couple times throughout the course of the weekend. We felt like the better option was the other pick, just a chance for a guy to get on the field and help us this year with where we are as a roster. But the conversation happened multiple times. I'm certainly not backing off what I said initially. We will take a quarterback every year, every other year when we have the opportunity. But the way that it fell this year, and part of that is we like our room. We're happy with Malik. Quinn is doing a good job and will continue to do a good job, and we like our number 3 as well. So we're in good shape there, and just the way the board fell, it didn't work out this year. But we'll take one next year, if not the year after that.
I've got a question about BPA and conviction, and BPA and conviction, I guess, over need. And I want to see if I have examples correct here. You guys took Proctor over Ruben Bain when you needed an edge rusher, but BPA and conviction. You take Jacob Rodriguez over Derek Moore and Zion Young, BPA over conviction and competition. You've got 3. You had 2 starting offensive tackles. You had 2 starting inside linebackers. Am I reading that right? Are those examples of BPA and conviction over need?
Yeah, I mean, and those other guys, again, I want to make sure I'm being very clear here. Those other guys that you mentioned are very good football players, and the Dolphins would have been lucky to have them. But yeah, it is a best player available approach, and there's a lot of conversations that go into it. You never have any way of knowing what your needs are going to be. I've said that to you before, and I believe that in my heart of hearts. I mean, you can have an embarrassment of riches in a room, and then you got a hamstring and an ankle, and now you're going to your emergency board. So we took the players that we felt like were the best for the Miami Dolphins. That's no shot at anybody that didn't end up here. I'm sure they'll go on to have wonderful careers, and we wish them nothing but the best. But we're very happy with who we took and who we wound up with.
Was there a point in the draft where you might have considered Jermon McCoy, or did you guys have him medically flagged?
You know what? He's a wonderful talent and a really good kid, and I'm going to stay away from talking about the medical of anybody or any players up here, but I wish him the best. I hope he has a great career.
So can you speak to your process now of adding undrafted guys? I guess you can get a handful since you already had 13 draft picks, and how much of that has already happened?
Yeah, it's going on as we speak. It's always a fast and furious process post-draft. We have our targeted guys, and we're in the process of trying to lock those guys up currently.
About how many might you have room for?
It's a fluid number. Probably, I would say 8 to 10. Just depending on how that goes.
One of the more interesting picks I thought was Traore. The Dolphins have had, I hope I pronounced it right. The Dolphins have had pathway players before, but not drafted pathway players. So what attracted you to him, and how quickly, where do you see him in his development right now?
Yeah, he's kind of a very raw athletic ball of clay, if you will. He can move. You know, he's an interesting athlete. He's got twitch. He's got speed. He's got good hands. I think he's a mismatch as a route runner, and he should only get better. You know, he hadn't been playing football real long, so you know that was what was intriguing to us, especially at that value. We felt like a player who's ascending and whose best ball is in front of him, and can be a problem for defenses in time. You know, I have a lot of faith in the coaches who are going to coach him every day to continue to develop him as a pro. But he was somebody that we had our eyes on for a while, and he fell to us at the right value, so we took a shot.
Jeff, are there one or two tangible qualities where the Dolphins got better through the draft, whether it's competition or speed or size or anything along those lines?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we had competition throughout our whole roster, and I think that's what you're looking for. I think that brings out the best, and I mean, you could look at all these players, and there's different qualities that each of them have, and there's different reasons we like some of these players over others. But like we said, competition is going to be the key. These 13 players bring that, as well as the guys that we have right now on the roster. They'll be here not this week, but the week after, and we'll kind of get them acclimated and then mix the team together, and I'm excited to do that.
Do you envision giving Proctor, no matter where he ends up, do you envision giving him looks at guard and tackle in the spring and summer?
Yeah, for sure. I think, we'll sit down and talk, where the best available position for him will be. I think ultimately our job is to get the best 5 on the field, and however that shakes out, it's our job to figure that out. Extremely talented player who can do both, which I think is a plus anytime you have versatility in a player. I think he can excel at both. We'll figure out where the best spot is for him, as soon as we get on the field.
Speaking of versatility, you picked a few guys day 3 in Trey Moore and Kyle Lewis that are kind of viewed as tweeners, right? I'm curious how their versatility will play a role in your defense.
It excites me. I think anytime you can draft a player who can do multiple things, it's our job as coaches to have a vision for him and figure out where to play him, or play him in multiple spots. What's the down and distance? What's he going to do on early downs? Is he going to be a stack backer on early downs? Is he going to be a sub rusher on 2nd, 7+, third down? Is he a guy that can line up as a spinner and pick guards and rush? And then you look at the other guy. Can he play outside backer? Can he play inside backer? Can you insert him in different spots on the field? The great part about our conversations is if you find a really good football player, and I mean smart guy, tough guy, a productive player that jumps out on tape, I think it's our job as coaches to have a vision for him. And then I think it's our job schematically to figure out how to make it work for him. And I think sometimes coaches look at, we're playing 3-4, we're playing 4-3, and he doesn't fit the scheme. I mean, I don't agree with that. I mean, let's get the best football players we can, and let's figure out what they can do. And now it's going to be fun trying to figure out these guys as we watch them do individual and then we watch them play football to figure out how to make it work. And that excites me as a coach, and I've said that before. And I think we've got a lot of pieces now to do that. And I was sitting there today in the draft meeting, and I even showed him, I was like drawing up different things different guys can do. Like that's fun for me. And these are really good players that mixed in with the players that we have. Now it's our job to go to work and go through the OTAs and go through training camp, and by preseason, we'll see what we can do with them.
On the same topic, on the other side of the ball, you guys added a bunch of players on the O-line, tight end that really can play downhill in a phone booth, and they have other skills as well. But you also inherit a bunch of guys that have excelled at outside zone scheme. How important was it to you guys to diversify what you can do from a running game scheme standpoint?
Well, I think the guys that we have can run outside zone, can run inside zone, and can run gap scheme. I think it's the same thing that I just said. The more we can do, the more our players can do, and then let's figure out what they do best, and let's go get good at it.
Jeff, we heard Sully's comments on Chris Johnson, but I want to go back to some things you said about how you scout cornerbacks at the league meetings, the 3 levels of play. When you're watching Chris Johnson play, how did he fare at all 3 levels?
No, it's cool that you remember that. I think he can win at all 3, and he can take the ball away, and he tackles, and he's aggressive, and I love his play style, and he can play inside. I mean, this was one of my favorite guys in the draft. that when we started talking about him and it came time to pick him, I mean, I would not have been surprised if he was taken earlier than we took him. So he can win at those levels. I'm excited to coach him. He was here yesterday. He's got good size to him. He's got length to him. He's a great person. He loves football. I am very excited to get a chance to coach him.
When it comes to edge rusher, did you hope to maybe get one in-house in the first 2 days? And then how did you feel about coming away with the two you did get here on day 3?
I just wanted the best player available. And I think that's the cool part about this draft and the process and really learning from him and going through this the first time. And it kept coming back to that as we talked. It's you take that, no, just keep taking the best player you can, and we did that. And we stuck to it, and I think that will help our team as we go forward. And then the other guys that we took, really excited about them. I mean, guys that have versatility. At the end, Max has got a toughness to him that we liked. He's a rugged player. He plays really hard. And then even like a guy like Trey Moore, right? All the things that Trey can do, the amount of sacks that he's had in his career, the ability to play linebacker, the ability to play off the edge. I mean, that's really exciting for us. So I look forward to seeing those guys and coaching them.
I think if I can chime in here, the theme is good football players who can do different things. And as you build a roster, injuries, it's inevitable. Injuries are going to happen, so it's no different than in life, right? The more you can do, the more value you bring. And that was kind of, that's been our theme all the way through. Let's just collect as many really good football players as we can who can do a lot of different things, throw them in the mix, and good things will happen. That are also, I know you guys are tired of hearing me use the phrase wired right, but that are wired right, that love what they do and are passionate about what they do and have leadership skills and physical and mental toughness, and you're not going to go wrong that way. You can win with that mindset and win with that process. I believe that in my heart of hearts.
And I think, and I agree with Sully, I think what should excite people and what's exciting to us as coaches, I mean, as I look at these names, these are good, not only good football players, but they're smart football players, they're tough football players. It's going to be cool to see this group mixed together because I think they all have a very similar mindset, and I think they all have a little bit of edge to them, and that excites me to start coaching them.
Now that you guys have this full picture for the draft class and you try to define the scheme, right, does it work as starting broad and getting more narrow, or is it a matter of starting narrow and then building it out once you kind of get a feel for the guys?
Well, I think we have right now, and Bobby on offense, and obviously I'll have a say in that as well. And in our defense with Sean, I mean, we have a system that we're going to run, but there's tweaks within a system, and there's evolutions within a system, and there's things that we'll think outside the box to add to the system. But in general, we've got a really good, solid core foundation of the systems that we're going to run that are in place, and we've already started teaching to the guys that are here, because let's not forget we've got some good pieces here already that have been working really hard and doing a really, really good job, and we had 2 really good days of minicamp out there. So this isn't reinventing an offense or a defense. This is now plugging in players to see who does what best and creating some really, really good competition, which that is what excites me the most. Anytime you can add that, you're going to bring out the best in these guys.
For an entire secondary that needs to be rebuilt, I mean, you guys basically parted ways with just about every starter. Why only one cornerback and why one safety?
We like a lot of the guys that we have. We've got to spend time with them. We have some guys that were injured last year that are back, and we've got to watch them on the field. And then same with some safeties. We brought in some guys. There's guys that were here. And, we did. We added a safety. We added Chris. And then really even getting Kyle, who's got the versatility. I know he's listed as a linebacker, but I think you're going to see him move around and do some things back there as well.
When you guys talk a lot about size, toughness, versatility, the only player that I guess doesn't necessarily, well, I don't want to speak on the toughness part of it because, we'll learn that over time. But I guess size and versatility, Kevin Coleman is the only player that immediately comes to mind that doesn't necessarily fit those. I'm curious what you guys saw out of him.
Sure, it was an opportunity to add some explosiveness to the offense, some speed. A guy that's again versatile, can return, help you in the return game. And has been a good player in the most competitive league in college football in the SEC, or at least in my opinion. So yeah, it was just again an opportunity to add some speed, some juice to that position group, and a guy that we think can do multiple things.
Any question? All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Enjoy your weekend.
All right, guys, you heard versatility, toughness, and players that can play multiple positions. I totally like the draft. I'll give you my grade next video, and then we'll discuss also undrafted free agents. Leave me your thoughts down in the comments, and I appreciate your support as we continue to grow the Finstock family. And let me know what you think of the draft down in the comment section. I'll reply to every single comment. Like always, stay positive, stay on your grind, and go Dolphins.